So today we're at the Algonquin Park, and we're at a little spot called Lookout Trail. I think God put this rock here so that I could have a rest going up the hill. Do you know the reason why our clocks rotate in the direction that they do? It's because the clock was invented in the northern hemisphere. If clocks were invented in the southern hemisphere, they would rotate in the other direction, what we commonly refer to as counterclockwise. The reason for this is because the invention of the clock was based on sundials. Now, the first sundials did not have hours or minutes or even seconds on them, but they did cast a shadow that would help you know what time of day it was. So when you are in the northern hemisphere and you are tracking the movement of the sun, when you are facing north, the sun arcs in the sky behind you. So shadows that are cast would be slightly north of you. And the movement of the sun going east to west made all shadows move west to east. So when you face north and watch a sundial shadow, it would be moving in what we now refer to as a clockwise direction. Now, if you are in the southern hemisphere, the shadows all face south. And it is the opposite of what it would be in the northern hemisphere. So now your sundial shadow would be moving in a counterclockwise direction, and if clocks were invented in the southern hemisphere, this is the way our clocks would rotate, and we would call that clockwise. So all this haze that you see out there, that's not fog. Believe it or not, that is smoke that has drifted in from all the fires in Quebec. We're in about the central area of Algonquin Park at the moment, and this is how much smoke is here from the Quebec fires. Yesterday was clear, but the weather must have shifted and it's drifted all this smoke in here. And it actually made it kind of a difficult climb up this hill. We're both feeling a little winded. And it might be the smoke that's doing it. An iron anvil will float in liquid mercury because the anvil is half as dense as the liquid mercury is. In fact, the iron anvil will float in the mercury better than wood floats in water. Oh, I see it. I saw it under the water, yeah. So there is something very interesting about a typical deck of 52 cards. Any arrangement of a shuffled deck of cards has never happened before and will never happen again. The number of possible combinations is like 8 times 10 to the power of 67. That's an 8 with 67 zeros. To give you an idea of the scope of this number, if I took a grain of sand and painted it a bright color like blue, and I placed it somewhere in the world, and I told you to find that grain of sand. It could be anywhere, in any desert, any beach, even the bottom of the ocean. Anywhere in the world, I've placed this grain of sand. The likelihood that you would find that grain of sand is in the odds of 1 in 5 times 10 to the 21. That's 5 with 21 zeros. A much smaller number than how many different combinations of cards you can have in a single deck of cards. Oh fuck, I wasn't recording any of that. Now, I did bring hat nets, bug nets, if you wanted one to put over. Just sit on a rock. So we're all familiar with the term fossil fuels, right? Well, did you know that fossil fuels do not come from the fossils of dead dinosaurs? It actually comes from the massive amounts of algae and plankton that were in the oceans millions of years before the dinosaurs, and also the amount of vegetation and plant life that was on the land. All of this plankton and algae and land plant life, over time, as it died off, would sink to the bottom of the oceans and would create layers and layers on the ocean and layers on the land. And some believe these layers could get up to 1 kilometer thick. And remember, this takes millions of years to happen. So then over time, those layers would get covered up with sediment and rock and get shuffled around from place to place through plate tectonics. And they would be buried so deep under the Earth's crust that immense pressures would cause chemical reactions to begin that would turn those dead life forms into oil and gas. The term fossil fuel came from an oil company that used dinosaurs in its logos in the 1930s, and the oil company was called Sinclair Oil. Oh, that's thunder. You hear that? Yeah, that's thunder. We're getting wet, baby.
Hey there, my friends. If you enjoy my videos and you would like to see more, click subscribe, and don't forget to click on the little bell to get your notifications. You can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Just look for The Atheist Experiment and you'll find me. See you next time, and stay skeptical.